How you doing, guys? I'm going to talk a little bit more about the new Mac Pro. Originally, I did release some information about it, but I've actually looked more under the hood and support for third-party software. There are some professional users are still a little bit upset over it can't be expanded very much internally, except for SSD storage and RAM. You can't put PCIe slots and several other things in there. It's got to be expanded externally. Another thing that we're also worried about is support for OpenCL and their professional software. Not everything supports OpenCL yet. I've got some more information on that that's very interesting. Now, there also been some things floating around with there is supposedly a Geekbench benchmark, which is a benchmark used on Macs, and they've got one supposedly out for this new Mac Pro. It's only really showing up to, I believe, 10 to 15% faster than the current Mac Pros on sale. And I think you got to realize the Geekbench benchmark really only takes into account the CPU only. Doesn't take into account the computer as a whole. GPU or GPUs, if you have more than one, SSD, storage on perhaps a PCIe bus, or there could be several things. So you can only really take it with a grain of salt. You have to think of the computer as a whole. So I think you only should take it as a quick indication of CPU power for that particular computer, but not overall. That being said, I'm going to look a little bit more into it now. Supposedly there's only going to be one CPU. It's not supposedly no dual CPU options, but up to 12 cores for that one CPU. But it's also going to utilize heavily on GPU power. It does have two very powerful workstation graphics, the AMD Fire Pro, with each with 6 gigabytes of video RAM, and supposedly even perhaps one is only going to be hooked up to a monitor or multiple monitors. So it's going to utilize the other one probably for heavy computational streaming cores. Supposedly on a faster bus as well. And I think that's the way the new Mac Pro is going. Now, this is another thing that the professionals are worried about, is their software doesn't support OpenCL. Now, notably, Adobe kind of decided to go with CUDA versus, which is on NVIDIA, versus the AMI, or now it's owned by AMD graphic cards, because OpenCL was still very much in its infancy. Now, a lot of that has changed. And actually, after the new Mac Pro came out, I looked more into OpenCL professional software. Now, actually, I found out that Adobe does support OpenCL on Mac. It is a limited, but I am suspecting we're going to see a lot more support for it in the future. In fact, I bet the next version of Adobe Creative Cloud is going to integrate more of it. And Adobe does now support the AMD Fire Pro graphic cards that the new Mac Pro has, and they're even partnering, or Adobe is also partnering with AMD graphics for continued support of OpenCL. So we're starting to see more and more professional software utilize this OpenCL, which is pretty much an open standard, vice CUDA, which is more proprietary. So that's a lot of good news for the professional. So this is the trend that we're seeing with the new Mac Pro. Since a lot of now this is consumer PCs, which are a lot different from workstations, which are for professionals. But anyway, the consumer PCs, we're going to probably see lower and lower sales because more people are interested in powerful smartphones and tablets. So I think that's kind of the trend we're going to see, is smaller, more integrated desktop computers for the average consumer. Something perhaps even maybe what Apple's doing, everything integrated like a e-machine type thing. Of course, there will always be built-to-order options, especially for the PC workstations And even if you want to build it yourself, there's probably more powerful options as well. So I want to give more of my thoughts into the new Mac Pro under the hood.